Alright, let's get back to it. What's going on, my beautiful viewers? I am back again today to do a continuation to something I did like 2 or 3 years ago, honestly. And that is, we are going to be ranking some more isekai today in an isekai anime tier list. So yeah, if you guys watched my last video, you would have heard my kind of inner dialogue that I said out loud, and that I wanted to update my isekai anime tier list. I wanted to add more on, because I've watched a lot of shows since that point, and I just thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to do. The last one went over really well. I got a lot of good recommendations from you guys. So I am back again today to basically, this is not a new tier list, I'm adding on to the old one. So as you all can see, I have the same old tier list back up again. I wanted to reevaluate some of these anime because I've kind of rewatched several of them. Also, a few of them have had continuations since my last tier list. I have new opinions on some of them, so I want to kind of readjust some of these places. So in S tier, we have Overlord, Tensura, Drifters, Konosuba, Mushoku Tensei, and Re:Zero. Yeah, all of those are going to stay where they are. They're all going to stay in S tier. Rising of the Shield Hero, I am dropping that down to B tier. After I watched season 2, I was not impressed. Honestly, after the whole revenge arc of Naofumi was over, like everything, the show kind of lost its edge after like that whole thing kind of ended. I feel like it just kind of lost the mark. And also season 2 was adapted very poorly. So we're just talking about the anime here. I'm dropping it down to B tier. I don't think it's worthy of A tier anymore. Another thing that's going to change is Tanya, the Saga of Tanya the Evil. That is going back up. That is going up to S tier. I don't know what I was thinking in my last tier list by putting that in A tier. This is an S tier show for me, absolutely. It's such a unique premise. I love the whole like alternate World War I thing. I think exploring like a World War setting as an isekai, like, you know, premise is a very interesting and unique take on this whole genre. I rewatched it like maybe like half a year ago, and I also watched the movie as well. There's no reasoning it not being an S tier. It should have been an S tier from the beginning, and that was a mistake on my end. Another thing I am dropping down is Log Horizon. Log Horizon is dropping down to B tier. I rewatched a good bit of season 1, and then I started season 2. I think I liked this show more when I was younger. Like, I think it's fine, but I don't think it's A tier anymore. Soma Spider, honestly, I'm debating dropping Soma Spider to C tier. The first season was still pretty good. I think we'll leave it. Okay, so in C tier, we have Skeleton Knight in Another World. That can stay. Honestly, okay, so the two I'm looking at, I might demote are, okay, actually, you know what? World's Finest Assassin is getting demoted. World's Finest Assassin is getting demoted to D tier. I think World's Finest Assassin just fits more with the shows I've put in D tier in terms of my opinions on them, like just what I think they have to offer. Basically, D tier is kind of like one of those weird tiers on this list where it's just like, I can't say anything I particularly hate about the show, I just don't think it's very good. And that's where I think World's Finest Assassin goes to. So yeah, all those are gonna stay the same. So another demotion is happening is I am moving In Another Smart World with my smartphone down to F tier. So I rewatched a good bit of season 1, and then I tried to watch some of the second season. This show has nothing. There is nothing of substance in that show. I do not like the show. It is going in F tier. If you disagree with that, that's fine. For me, it's F tier. This show is complete trash. I can't enjoy anything about it. I can't. Another one I'm demoting is Arifureta. Unfortunately, I've said this several times that Arifureta is one of those guilty pleasure shows for me. It's like a show that I particularly like more than like a lot of other people, and that's why I put it as high as I did in the last tier list. Season 2 was shit. That's why it's going down to E tier. The season 1 and how I feel about season 1 is still keeping it out of F tier. But I didn't like the second season of Arifureta at all. I thought it was garbage, and honestly, it weighs it down, so there's that. So with that being said, I have 16 new isekai anime for this list, and I kind of just loaded them in here in a random order, but I'll just kind of pick them out of order in the list just to keep things spicy. What do we want to start with? You know what, actually, let's start with one that is actually currently going on this season, and that is Suki Mei. So Suki Mei is a isekai show that I watched because of your all's recommendations. A ton of people in the comment section were just like, dude, watch Suki Mei. It's like a really good isekai. A lot of people compare it to That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and I see where that kind of comparison grows from, because it is about like two people starting civilizations and kind of like their own groups, and also they go with the non-human route, because even though Makoto is a human in Suki Mei, his society is kind of mostly demi-humans. So with season 2 airing now, I guess you couldn't say this is a final judgment because season 2 is still still going. I'm not a huge fan of the whole Academy arc of season 2. I just think it's a little boring. We know how much animes love schools, and so like putting us in a school, like, man, I don't know about that. Now I have a whole video reviewing Suki Mei, so I don't need to go into everything about it, but it is doing more to work off like the flaws that I pointed out in my review. It's like high B, low A. You could make a case for both of them because it's got a lot good going for it. I just feel like it's been stuck in this really slow part of the story for season 2, and that's just kind of where the problem is. Season 1 was great. Oh man, I know it's way better than Soma Spider. Yeah, it's going in A tier. It's going in A tier. It's better than the B tier shows. Okay, next up on the list, we'll do something a little less recent, and that we'll go with Black Summoner. This one completely cookie cutter. Completely just dude gets brought to a new world, has OP powers, lots of pretty girls, yada yada yada. I'm having a hard time remembering a lot of the details because it feels like I've seen this anime 13 times. That's the thing that makes it hard to judge, because like, is it bad just because it's not unique? Because I can't think of anything that I like hated in the show other than like the god-awful CGI on that Black Knight guy. You know what? I think it goes well into the D tier. Like, it's just like a perfectly just, you know, like you could just watch it, turn your brain off. It's just like totally whatever. Ooh, okay, here we go. Here's an interesting one, and one that I actually kind of wanted to, I was thinking about making a video on, and that's I'm Standing on a Million Lives. There's a few anime in this tier list I think people won't actually know about, and this is one of them. So because this show is a little more obscure, I'm actually going to explain like what the story is. It basically follows this group of high schoolers. I don't know, they're pretty young. They basically get randomly teleported to a different world. They have to clear like quests. The whole system operates like kind of gamically. They have like classes and everything. They have to clear the quest, and there's restrictions on the quest, and if they fail or they all die like this many times, they'll die for real. Basically sort of a death game show, but it's Isekai death game. But once they clear the quest, they go back to the real world and they pick up a new party member, and then they go back in after like a set amount of time or something. Our main character is such a freaking edgelord and is just like so like, oh, people's lives don't matter. I think the main problem with this show is the structure of it, because they keep getting dropped into these quests, right? And then we spend whole arcs with these certain characters. There's like people in the actual world, and then we go through a whole arc with them, and then they, you know, get transported back, and then they go back in, and like all those people are gone. Like there's some arcs in this show where it, like they felt like they were going to be main characters, and then they're just gone once the quest is completed. Even though we have a whole group of people that are pretty important, I think the character development is too heavily skewed towards the MC. Honestly, I can't say I recommend this show because like the pacing in it is so inconsistent. Sometimes it feels like the show is dragged out, and other times it feels like it's blowing through stuff really fast. Honestly, I think I'm Standing on a Million Lives, it's gonna go in E tier. I think it just has too many things wrong with it. I think there's some enjoyment to be had, but I don't think it's a good show. So that's why it's going to go in E tier. All right, let's do a really recent one. Something I actually made a video on very soon, and that is going to be the wrong way to use healing magic. So like I said, I have a whole review on this show, so I don't feel the need to like go super in depth with it. The thing I like about the wrong way to use healing magic is it just hits all the high points of Isekai, and it just got the assignment. Basically, they were given an assignment and they hit all the check marks. We had interesting character development. We have interesting character backstories and motivations. There's very little fan service. We have pretty cool power systems. We have a conflict that's actually a lot deeper than it initially seems. There's just a lot going for it. The wrong way to use healing magic, and like I think the only problem with it is that it needs to be longer. I just want more. It doesn't do anything that breaks it into like the crazy god tier isekais in my opinion, but it hits everything it's supposed to. Because of that, I'm gonna put the wrong way to use healing magic in A tier. Like I said, if you want my full thoughts on the wrong way to use healing magic, I'll put a card probably to the link to the video. Now, you know what? Because I talked about that, let's do the next one that I also talked about in the same video, and that's Sasaki and Peeps. So I actually reviewed Sasaki and Peeps in the same video where I reviewed the wrong way to use healing magic. Unlike the wrong way to use healing magic, after finishing Sasaki and Peeps, my feelings have changed on it quite a bit. Initially, I was very impressed with Sasaki and Peeps. I liked the whole liminal style. I liked that it's an adult protagonist. The problem with Sasaki and Peeps is as it goes on, I feel like this show show just has no idea what it wants to be. We have way too many different plot lines going on, and like they're all from different genres. It's like an isekai mixed with a fantasy, mixed with a slice of life, mixed with the supernatural, mixed with a mystery. Because it has so much going on, it can't flesh anything out like very, very well. Basically, the lake of the show just kept getting bigger and bigger to where, you know, none of it is really all that deep anymore. And so because of that, I am gonna put Sasaki and Peeps in C tier. There's still stuff to be enjoyed about it, and like I said, a big plus for me is that it has a freaking adult protagonist finally. But like I said, they just can't develop anything meaningfully in the time that they have right now because there's just too much going on. It doesn't, I feel like this show has an identity crisis. It doesn't know exactly what it wants to be. Okay, we'll just go down the list for this next one, and it is Parallel World Pharmacy. So this one, I was quick to write it off. Honestly, I thought it was just gonna be, oh, isekai, but it's a guy with a job. But I actually really turned around on this one. I enjoyed it pretty decently. Now, I will admit, I do have a good degree of bias on my viewing of this show because I love medical shows. I have watched like every medical show you can think of, like coming out of America. Yes, including some of Grey's Anatomy, thanks to my sister and my girlfriend. And the show is basically medical drama, the isekai, but with magic and stuff in it. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. Also, another thing I loved about it is I like the fact like just integrating real science. Parallel World Pharmacy is kind of in this weird spot because like I feel like there was more to be done. For this show, I'm having a hard time for this one, honestly. I'm gonna put it in old C tier. You know, I think there's plenty to enjoy. There's, you know, it might not be for everyone though. I definitely think this one is kind of a more particular one. It's not very universally appealing in my opinion, and I like medicine stuff. I think medicine stuff is dope. Okay, let's do two back to back, and there are also another two that I have my own video on. So starting off, we have Campfire Cooking in Another World. So once again, we have an adult protagonist, which I always love. Number two, this one is kind of just a feel-good anime in my opinion. I love cooking anime in general because I love food. I'm a foodie. My first dream ever as a kid was I wanted to be a chef. I may not be a chef, but I still really enjoy cooking. I enjoy making meals. So this one also hits home for me. We're making dishes in another world, but we're using otherworldly ingredients mixed with real world ingredients because this guy has this ability to pull items from our world, and he uses those add-ons to the base of the new world ingredients. I guess the main problem is there's no real like huge plot hook for this show. It's just kind of a feel-good going around just having a good time kind of anime. But I like the fact that we avoided a lot of the tropes. Like, yeah, there is a demon king or whatever, but like that's not dude's main goal. He's not the hero riding in, you know, he's not asking by a princess to save the kingdom, whatever crap. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. I don't think it has enough to get it into A tier, but it's still a really enjoyable show, I think. So Farming Life in Another World, like I said, I did a whole video talking about these two, and I'll leave a card for it if you guys want to check that out. But Farming Life in Another World is basically the same thing, except I like it a little bit less. There's a few more tropes in Farming Life in Another World. They're basically kind of the same things, except in Campfire Cooking, he's traveling around, whereas in Farming Life, he starts this whole town and community. Both are enjoyable for the same reasons. They're both kind of chill, like just whatever isekais, like dudes just having a good time. So Farming Life is gonna go a tier below Campfire Cooking. Like them for the same reasons, but there's just more that I like in Campfire Cooking than Farming Life. Okay, here we go. Actually, I'm kind of hesitant to talk about this one. The Master of Ragnarok and the Blessing of Enheriar. This one infuriates me, honestly. I find it so weird. This one, I never finished it. I couldn't. It was so bad. This one is funny because it's like a war anime, except homeboy does not like doing war. They keep trying to present him as this like genius strategist or whatever, except he just comes up with like the most basic military shit you can think of, and they're trying to pass it off as like, oh, he's a friggin' genius or whatever, outsmarting these guys. And then homeboy is able to take down whole armies. Oh, we didn't kill anyone. And it's just like, huh? Like, I don't get it. And of course, all the leaders of these armies are these cute little girls, and he's making them his little sisters who are all in love with him. This show is just, I just can't. I can't do it with this one. I can't do it. F tier. F tier immediately. This show blows dicks out of ass. This show is bad, guys. It is bad. It's a dumpster fire, but that's the problem with dumpster fires, isn't it, guys? They stink. You know they're trash. You cover your nose, but you don't cover your eyes. So actually, this next one was another viewer recommendation, and that is How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. I really enjoyed this one. This one was a fun watch for me. This one's a unique take because it's like an administrative isekai. Homeboy gets teleported to this new world and he becomes the king of this country that is in a bad spot. And he reworks like the political dynamic. He turns it sort of into a meritocracy. He stabilizes their economy by bringing in new industries, reworks their agricultural system. And I liked the fact that we thoroughly fleshed out the kingdom he was in before we branched out the world a little bit more. A lot of times shows have this problem where, number one, they don't flesh out the home base enough and we go out into the world too quickly, or number two, they never go out into the wider world and that's just something that you're wishing you had. Now, I really enjoyed this show and I even like the romance didn't feel weird. There was just a lot to like about this show. I think this is a really good one. I'm gonna put this one in old A tier. I love isekai animes that focus on building a whole new world for us, explaining political dynamics, does a lot of governmental things. I find all of that stuff very, very fun, and it's like a perfect reality escape. And so yeah, A tier, it definitely belongs there. Okay, so moving on, we have The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventure. This one, guys, completely cookie cutter. It's kind of like Black Summoner in that regard. Like, I can't really remember too much about it because I felt like I had watched the same show 15 times before. Like, really, there isn't much separating Black Summoner and The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventure, but The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventure I just think is worse. I can't explain why. It's almost like it's down here. It's a gut feeling on this one. Okay, yeah, The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventure is going in E tier. Honestly, I just kind of thought it was a waste of time. I didn't think it was like horrifying, poison to my eyeballs like everything in F tier. It had nothing going for it, and it was just whatever. Okay, now a little more unique one, Dead Mount Deathplay, and another one that was recommended by you guys. Let's give a round of applause. You guys are so good at recommending me isekai anime. Like I said, I have a whole video on it. I'm not going to explain the plot of this one. If you want that, you can check out the video I have on it. But I like this one. First of all, it pulled the fast one on us by, making it the bad guy that was reincarnated. I like how they slowly flesh out Corpse God's past, and obviously there's something going on with the Shinoyama family. There's obviously a whole lot of intrigue going on in this world. Basically, I haven't watched all of it. I think I'm on like episode 14 or 15. It's kind of a cross between like a supernatural mystery is kind of what I want to call it. It's plenty edgy, but like not really cringily though. This one I think is gonna go in B tier. I think there's a lot to like about it and I think there's more good than bad, but I didn't like overly enjoy it like the ones in A and S tier. Okay, this one, I'm kind of excited to talk about this one. Kamikatsu. This one was, oh man. Kamikatsu is one of these rare shows. It's so bad, it's good. I feel like the people who made this show knew it was degenerate stuff and they fully leaned into that. Like, the show almost felt self-aware at times. The actual real dude driving the tractor and they slapped a guy's face on it, that was hilarious. Like, it's crap, but it's so bad, it's so funny, and that's why I'm having trouble with it. Cause like, I could see a lot of people like thinking it's F tier, cause it is very, very bad, but it's also so fun because it's so bad. I think because of that, it keeps itself out of F tier. Like, if I was being a completely objective person right now, I'd probably put it in F tier. I don't know, I'm gonna put Kamikatsu in E tier. There is some enjoyment to be had in it, and for me personally, I thought it was really funny. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in E tier. Okay, this next one is one I haven't watched in a while, but I'm very biased towards it, called The Ambition of Oda Nobuna. So this one's a little more obscure. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys haven't seen it. So I do want to point out, I don't know why I didn't put this on my first tier list, because I watched this years and years ago. This is not like something I recently watched. So The Ambition of Oda Nobuna, not Oda Nobunaga, Oda Nobuna. I'll give a little plot synopsis since this one's a little more obscure. Basically about a dude who is teleported back in time, but also to an alternate reality, to the Sengoku period of Japan, which is like I love learning about that shit. I love the Sengoku period in Japan. It's so cool. So he gets pulled back in time and he's basically dropped in the middle of a battle. He gets saved by a person who would eventually become Toyotomi Hideyoshi. And for anyone who doesn't know Japanese history, Toyotomi Hideyoshi was like he was like a subordinate of Oda Nobunaga who eventually became sort of his successor. He took over the country after Oda Nobunaga was killed at the Honnoji incident. And he's considered the second unifier of Japan after Oda Nobunaga and before Tokugawa Ieyasu. So the real Toyotomi Hideyoshi in this world gets killed saving our MC, and so he basically fills in for Toyotomi Hideyoshi like throughout like history. But the twist on this history is that basically every big name from the Sengoku period, well, okay, 90% of the big names from the Sengoku period in this anime have been transformed into cute young women. And our boy joins up with the kind of gender-swapped version of Oda Nobunaga, who is Oda Nobuna. He kind of has to lead her through a lot of the history that he knows and basically changes a lot of the Sengoku history as he goes through. As I'm sure you all can tell, I am a massive fucking nerd when it comes to the Sengoku period. It's Japanese history, fucking slaps. I know so much about that shit, and I especially know a lot about Oda Nobunaga, who's like one of the biggest names in Japanese history. If you guys know anything about Japanese history, you probably know who Oda Nobunaga is. He's massive. So this one was really funny for me because I know so much about the history that it was funny to see this sort of different take on it. And I love when anime does this shit where they just kind of take historical people and do whatever the fuck they want with it. But this one's a little more degenerate because it's kind of a historical action romance harem show with the main dude being Toyotomi Hideyoshi and, you know, starting shit up with all of these de-aged, gender-swapped historical figures. To someone who knows this history, it's funny. However, if you don't know anything about Japanese history, I think you're going to get way less amusement out of this than someone like me who knows a lot of it. For that reason, I'm going to put the ambitions of Oda Nobuna in D tier. I think there's a good bit to be enjoyed here, but it's pretty niche, and also I will say overall I think there's more negatives in the show than positives, but I still enjoyed it a good bit. I thought the show was really funny at times, and I liked seeing alternate history takes and stuff, and also reimagining and, you know, just like rewriting history of turning these old ass guys into these pretty young girls. It's just funny, but it is pretty niche, so I think D tier is a good spot for it. So now we're gonna go to one of the big wish fulfillment anime of a few seasons ago, and of course I'm talking about I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World and Became Unrivaled in the Real World 2. Do I need to say more after that title, guys? This is kind of like a worse version of Solo Leveling, honestly. I think is a really great way to look at it. And I have to tell you guys, I don't think Solo Leveling is like really all that amazing. I think Solo Leveling is way overhyped. And so if that gives you any opinion on how I feel about this show is just basically that show, but worse in every way, in my opinion. Worse on the wish fulfillment. It's worse on the characters. It's worse on the action. For me, there's zero reason to watch this show. There was no substance to anything. There's nothing to dig up. It's just things happen. The end. And for that reason, I'm going to have to give it an F tier. I think there are people out there that would enjoy this show, but I'm not one of them. So alright guys, on to the last one, and holy crap, this video is way longer than I intended it to be. Alright, we got the Eminence in Shadow. Now this one's a big name in the Isekai genre, so I'm sure a lot of you guys know it. I have my own video on Eminence in Shadow Season 1, but if you guys watched my Eminence in Shadow Season 1 video, you would know that I liked Season 1. So I watched Season 2 as well, and this is where I started to feel a little differently about the show going into Season 2. So let me make it clear, I still enjoyed the show. I encountered a big problem with the Eminence in Shadow, because the main thing about the Eminence in Shadow is it always goes back to Shadow doesn't know what's going on. And it's like telling the same joke over and over again. I got it the first time, I got it the second time, and by the fifth time it happens, it's not funny anymore. But basically, as the show has gone on, my enjoyment of it has just kind of declined a little bit. However, what saves the Eminence in Shadow is literally everything else besides Sid. How they are progressing and how we're unfolding this more and more as we go on with them, and like these plots that are happening around Sid are interesting. I'm losing my interest in Sid as an MC. That as the show goes on, and that's the main problem with it. So because of that, and I know a lot of people might disagree with this. I am not putting The Eminence in Shadow in S tier. I'm putting it in A tier. There is a lot to enjoy in the show. The show looks great. I like the world. I like the characters. The main problem is just like how they always go back to the, oh, Sid doesn't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. After 22 episodes, that gag just kind of has worn off. I'm interested in everything else that's going on in The Eminence in Shadow besides Sid. So at this point, so that's where I'm at. Okay guys, so now we have a bigger tier list going on here, and holy crap, I ran my mouth too much. This video has gone on way too long. So guys, I know we're gonna disagree on some of this stuff. It's gonna be inevitable. Please leave your thoughts in the comments section. I want to know what you guys think. Like I said, there are a couple more obscure ones on this list that maybe you hadn't heard of. If this one gives you any recommendations, please let me know what you guys think. I guess we'll just kind of save it and we'll add to it as the good time goes on. I might choose a smaller batch because this video is way too long, and I'll just add to it periodically. But I like doing this stuff, guys. I like these more casual videos where I can just kind of talk, you know, not really being all that serious, and just give some thoughts on some stuff. They're a lot more enjoyable to make. So guys, what did you think of the tier list? Did you enjoy it? What are your thoughts? I know we're going to disagree, so please leave your comments in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to keep adding on to the tier list, please like the video to let me know. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know, and it'll let you know when I post in the future. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching to the very end of the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.